Hi, this is Wayne Belisle. This is a long video. I apologize, but there's a lot of information in this. So make sure you grab your pencil and take notes because there's a ton of information here that'll help you. Like I said, the 10 secrets to tripling your sales and profits. So let's get going. There's a lot we need to do. I said, let's get going. There we go. Anyways, welcome to ISB Strategies. It's Innovative Small Business. This is part of our magazine and it's going to be part of our course later on. So keep your eyes open. Anyways, I want to go through numerous money-making tips and secrets, but first let's talk about who the heck I am. My name is Wayne Belisle. I'm a CPA. Yeah, I guess I need to talk a little more. I'm a CPA. I've been in business for myself since 1991, working with thousands of small business owners. We do tax, we do the normal stuff CPAs do, but one of the things we do more of is we really help our businesses make more money. And that's part of the reason why we have this magazine. It's a low-cost way. We do a ton of consulting, but I figured out there was a lot of businesses that couldn't afford me. So we basically put this magazine together, and we're putting some courses together. Keep your eyes open. And we're doing some free webinars. We got some tax webinars out there. We're going to have a ton of them in the near future. Basically helping business owners grow their business because let's be honest, in my mind, the business owners are the last chance for the United States as far as keeping the American spirit alive because these are the guys that get things done. Be quite frank about it. Since 2008, 90 some odd percent of all new jobs have come from businesses with less than 10 employees. So we are the backbone of the United States right now, and we're going to be the ones that take us out. But the problem is so many business owners fail, and they fail because they do the same thing. I graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with an accounting degree in 1976. I passed the CPA exam in 1977. I was one of the youngest people there. I worked in big eight firms, worked in small accounting firms. I worked in one-man offices. I then moved into private practice and was a comptroller and then CFO of a local bottling company in El Paso, a local Coca-Cola bottling company in El Paso. So I learned that side of it and what I didn't like about CPAs. And now I've been since 1991, so we're doing 22, 23 years on our own. And we really love helping our clients grow their business because when our clients make money, we make money. So let's get back to why you're really here, to make money. That's what I said. Take out a pen and paper and let's take some notes. I'm about to disclose 10 secrets that I've charged many of my clients thousands of dollars just for each one of these, okay? Secret number one, see what the crowd is doing and trust me, do the opposite. All right? Fact. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. According to the Small Business Administration, over 50% of small businesses fail in the first year, and 95% are out of business within the first 5 years. All right? Fact, the businesses that survive past 5 years, less than 1% reach a level that allow the business to survive the retirement or death of the founder. Think about that. I mean, we're literally talking about 0.5% of all businesses that started will actually survive the death of the founder or the retirement of the founder. That's a lot of dreams and hard work and sweat that just didn't get passed on. And that's, like I said, that's some serious stuff. Why does this happen? Well, key reason for business failure is simply the inexperience and lack of business knowledge of the business owner. There's no doubt about it. Fact, only 1% of companies grow to over $1 million in sales. And number one reason these 1% prosper is the business owner has a strong grasp of the business basics and a commitment to constant improvement. Something we were talking about all this issue. I mean, it's what I've seen is the biggest difference is those that succeed have a commitment to constant improvement. All right. Secret number two. The businesses that succeed focus their time on the work that increases profits, sales, and cash flow. The most valuable resource in any business is the owner's time. It's the only thing you can't buy more of. So guard it like the precious treasure it really is. Analyze your time. Sit down and write down everything that you do for a week, okay? Then this is what I tell my clients to do. Sit down, write down everything they've done in 15-minute blocks, okay? Every single thing. And go someplace by yourself. Go to Starbucks, go to the Barnes & Noble library, go out in the woods somewhere, I don't care. Go someplace where you're not going to be bothered and put a value on your time. If you want to make $200,000 or $100,000 a year, you're looking at dividing that by, let's say 1,000 hours. or if you only want to work half time, but you also got other things, divide it by 2,000 hours, whatever, and come up with your hourly rate. If your hourly rate is $100 an hour, $200 an hour, you look at every single thing on your list and you decide what you can delegate or outsource, anything that does not make the $100 or $200. All right. This slide's slightly out of order. Sorry. So what we're looking at is determine what your time is worth. Then ask yourself if you would pay someone that much to do the job. If not, delegate or outsource anything that doesn't work there. Okay. What should you outsource? Well, in truth, what you outsource is pretty easy. Tasks that only occur once, contract them out. This isn't hard. Trust me on this. The tasks that occur only once. Give you an example. If I'm going to create a new corporation, yeah, I can go to my CPA. I mean, sorry, go to mycorporation.com or something like that, or LegalZoom.com and do it. But what do I know? I mean, yeah, I'm first of all wasting my time, and second is I may make a fatal error that'll come back and haunt me. When you're doing your books, if you set up your QuickBooks, I can install QuickBooks for you in probably an hour. You might spend the weekend and not do it as well as I do in an hour. All right. Um, Unemployment contracts and things like that. Setting up a computer. I use that setting up a computer example. When I first was starting, I was doing everything. When you start a business, you're the president and the janitor all rolled up in one, and everything in between. This is back then, and my computer, I only had one. Now, if this happens, we have multiple computers, but at that time I had one computer and it stopped working for some reason on a Friday afternoon. So I sat down and I worked on it Friday, I worked on it Saturday, and I still couldn't get it to work. Sunday I run into a friend of mine who had just started his computer business, and I tell him, hey Roger, I got a problem here. This thing is really killing me. He says, well, I got something I got to do Monday morning. I got a customer I need to go to, but I can be there around 11:30. So I work on it Monday morning too. And he comes in and he's working on it while we're talking, and I'm, seeing what he's doing and what customers he's got and telling him what we're doing. About a half hour later, he's done, and I went, wow, you fixed it that fast? And he goes, well, I would have done it faster, but you really messed some things up while you were trying to fix it. Ever since then, I've had to deal with this guy. I promise not to try to fix it if you show up when I need you, and he's really done a good job of keeping us out of business, out of trouble. Why? Because it's not my expertise. That's not what I should be doing. All right. Second thing that you should outsource are those tasks that occur on a regular basis but have absolutely no impact on the customer experience. Examples of this are payroll, direct mail advertising, or even your bookkeeping. Look, I'm a CPA. I don't do my own bookkeeping because that's not what I should be doing with my time. All right. I don't do my own payroll because that's not what I should do with my time. Direct mail advertising, I used to do this. I had my kids and I wanted to pay them money, but I didn't want to just give them money. They had to work for it. So I would have them do my direct mail to my customers, and they'd sit down, and it was annoying. I had to supervise them. It took time away, and I had to go buy the stamps, give them the envelopes, and invariably I'd get some back where they had a stamp but no address, or an address with no stamp. And they went off to college, so then I got a mail service that actually took my letter. I sent them the letter, and that's the last time I thought about it, because they actually printed it, stuffed the envelope, put the postage on it, and what was really annoying is the cost of it was less than what I was paying for the cost of a first-class stamp. Don't do those kind of things, okay? Tasks that occur, what you need to be doing are tasks that occur on a regular basis, and they have a direct impact on your customer. These are what you must focus on improving. Okay? The question is, how can I delegate effectively? I use smartsheet.com to track projects or tasks. I also use wow, I just went Salesforce, sorry. So any kind of program you have like that where you can track them, I've used everything, okay? It doesn't really matter what you use as long as you have a way that works for you. All right, and then I hold the weekly accountability meetings with my staff. All right, systemize your business. Let's go back to that, by the way. I did an article in this magazine, so make sure you go look at it, that I talked about holding weekly accountability meetings. But there's a big reason to do this, because you're sitting down with them and saying, here's what I expect you to work on. Tell me when you're going to get it done. And then you're meeting at the end of the week going, what did you get done? All right. So there's a big article on delegation. We'll get to that later. Systemize your business. All right. You must have a system of capturing qualified needs. I should say leads. Sorry about that. All right. So make sure you have systems in place. And we spend a lot of time on systems. I'm not going to go there, but one book to read, and I recommend this. I recommended it earlier in another video. Go get the E-Myth Revisited, and it does an excellent job telling you why you need to have systems. And then go back, and I think it was our November or December issue. We spent a lot of time talking about why you need to have systems and how to easily document systems. All right. Secret number 3, manage and improve every step of the sales cycle. All right. Attract the right. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. My apologies. This is managing and improving every step of the sales cycle is important because what you're looking at is that you really have to get the leads, turn them into prospects, who then you turn into sales, and then you get them to the sale to upsell, and then you get them to bring referrals. So you want to look at every single step of that process and work on improving it. But first, you want to make sure that you're actually attracting the right prospect. So you need to know who your perfect customer is. You need to sit down and make a decision. Who is the perfect customer for me, and what do I need to do to get them? All right. Then you have to figure out how to capture all these leads so that you can make sure you follow up on them, and then nurture the prospects with multiple contacts. It's amazing how many people give up after 1, 2, or 3. Right, I mean, statistically, and study after study has shown that it takes 7, 8, 9, 10 contacts. You should have that many. You should put together a way to make sure you're touching them every day. If one of the things that I did when I first started off is if you can't be number 1 on anybody's list, be number 2 on as many people's list as you can. What did I do? Well, this was back in the 80s, so I sent out business building cassette tapes that I bought. All right. Now we do these magazines and send out we got a blog and a bunch of videos and free stuff. But at that time, that's all I had. So I sent out 400 of them every month. And I did it consistently for 2, 3, 4, 5 years until I had so much work I really couldn't afford to do it anymore. That's another story. Until I could bring in some help to help me. But what we did at that point is that I knew that the chances of me being there at the time when somebody got mad at their CPA, or when they were starting a business, or when they outgrew their current ones, was slim to none. But what I didn't want them to do when that event occurred, I didn't want them, when their CPA called them on April 14th and told them they owed $50,000 and it was a surprise. I didn't want them to look in the yellow pages or do a Google search, which didn't exist in the 80s, or ask their friends. I wanted them to go, hey, why don't we call that guy that's been sending us these tapes? Because he's a CPA, and he's been, hey, he might even be able to help us grow our business too while we're at it. So I wanted to be number 2 on as many people's list as possible. I haven't mailed those cassette tapes out since maybe 1988. I'm sorry, 1998. Excuse me, 1998. I did it in the 90s. Sorry, 98 is. I had a client bring me a whole bunch of cassettes that they had kept and re-listened to last year, saying, hey, you might want these because I closed down my business. I thought it was kind of cool that they kept them that long and held them. All right. Educate your customers. Educated customers buy more. Simple as that. So spend the time educating the customers. Don't assume they know what your products are. Don't assume they know how your products meet their needs. Don't assume they know the benefits of your product or your service. It's one CPA is the same as another. So what do you do differently? Why do they need tax planning? All right. Like I said, educated customers buy more. Follow-up sales at least 5 times after they buy. Send them some follow-ups. There's an article in this magazine, in this issue, that talks about how to set up autoresponders. We're so lucky now. I think use autoresponders. So you're doing emails, do a letter follow-up, do a postcard. Ain't nothing beats a phone call from you. All right. Set up a customer care department that calls them afterwards. We set one of these up for a client of mine that was a photographer. They do portraits. shouldn't call him a photographer. He'd shoot me. They do portraits, right? And those aren't cheap. You do a portrait of your family with your kids, and you're looking at $400-500, 800, 1,000, and then they go, "Do you want frames?" Well, good Lord, I just spent twice what I intended to, so no, I'll frame them myself. Well, what we knew and what he knew from experience is that 90% of them 6 months later would not have them framed. Okay, so he would call after 30 days and say, "Hey, how's things going? Were you happy with them? I have some additional prints that you didn't take, and I have them on special right now. Would you like to, I can give you those rather than putting them in storage. I can give them to you at 20% off." And it was amazing how many people would take them. "Hey, by the way, have you framed them?" And of course, what this did too is he made sure they were happy with it. If they weren't happy, you're not going to get referrals. You're not going to get repeat business. And the fact that you called, nobody else calls. I mean, you get a call from them, and it's like a lot of times people were wondering, "Wow, what happened? What's wrong?" So, getting a call was just flat out amazing. So, they got a call from their customer care department, and they had a script they followed. And what happened is they literally increased sales to current customers by 50 to 60%. Because they didn't just stop there. They called 6 months later and say, "Hey, have you still got those framed? We got a special going on frames." They would call everybody who bought in the last 6 months. And it was amazing. Of course they didn't have it framed, but now that $1,000 they spent was 4 months ago, and they got a budget, and heck, I spent $1,000 on those pictures. And we'd even say that, "Man, it's a shame to sell. It's a shame to have spent all that money on those pictures and they're sitting in your closet. And you need to get them up. We got a special. Let's help you put them up." And it came across like we were helping. And then, he had a policy after 2-3 years he would destroy them, he said. And he didn't, but he was starting to, because it was just getting crazy. Now everything's on digital. So he'd call him and say, "I'm getting ready to delete my files here, and I hate to throw away pictures of your daughter or your son or your wedding or your graduation or, whatever the event may be. And, I can give them to you for, I'll cut you a deal. I can give you 75% off or 50% off. Why not? I mean, he already did all the work. He already did the printing. They just didn't take the pictures. All right. It's amazing how much he did. Follow up. Put together a program of how you're going to follow up after the sale. All right. 48% of business owners only make one contact. This results in only 2% of the prospects buying. 24% of business owners only make two contacts. This results in 3% of prospects buying. 12% of business owners only make three contacts. This results in 4% of prospects buying. 6% of business owners only make four contacts. This results in another 10% of prospects buying. 10% of business owners make five contacts. This is how many contacts it takes for 81% of prospects to buy, and only 10% of the business owners are actually doing it. So 90% of business owners stop before 81% of the prospects are ready to buy. This means you're not making 4 out of 5 sales out there. Worse yet, you may be planting the seeds for your prospects to buy from your competitors who called them that 5th time after you made the first 4. So what you need is a system to make at least 5 attempts to sell to your prospects. So I'm talking about 5 attempts to sell to your prospects before and 5 attempts to upsell after they make a purchase. Keep that number 5. And after all that work, make sure you close the sale. Use consultative selling. This works for me and for many people because you're not concentrating on making this sale, because people hate to be sold but they love to buy. You're working on solving the customer's problems. Work on that. And don't forget, exceed your customers' expectations. Improve your system so that you and your staff can deliver a quality product every time and on time. In today's world, good just isn't good enough anymore. All right? Sorry. Let's get back to that. I don't want to go too fast past that, because I'm a strong believer in today's world, in the social world, that one bad experience is told. They put it on their Facebook page or their Twitter, feed, or put it on LinkedIn, and that sucker, or do a review on Yelp or something like that, and that sucker's going to stay out there forever. You want to offset that by having a bunch of people that are happy. Excuse me. But I mean, you really need to sit down and do a good job, because good just isn't good enough anymore. You need to be great. All right. Upsell and cross-sell to customers. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. And I told you a little bit about the photographer and how well it worked for them. Follow up after the sale for quality control and continue. We talked about that. Get referrals. I'm sorry. That was another thing they did on that phone call follow-up. Hey, do you have any friends who might, who, and we were very specific. Just don't go. Do you know anybody who needs a photographer? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I don't want you bugging my friends. But we put the question together, and we even did a test, and it didn't work. All right, very few people told them. But if we asked the question differently, I'm the photographer now. Hey, do you have anybody who just had a baby? You have anybody who's getting married soon? You have anybody who's having a 50th anniversary? Anybody graduating from college? Oh yeah, I got my daughter's. I mean, my brother's daughter's graduating. Hey, since they're if you refer them, I'll give you a discount on your next purchase, and I'll make sure that I give them a discount because they're friends of yours and you're a good customer. Work the referrals, man. Secret number 4, increase sales to current customers. We already touched on this already, but why? Current customers already know you, like you, and trust you, and if they don't, you got a problem that's beyond the scope of this, but they better. All right? It costs 5 times more to sell to a prospect than it does to sell to a current customer. Your customers are easier to sell to than to sell to a prospect who does not know you, like you, or trust you. Not that they don't like you, they just don't know you. They don't know who you are. These are examples of how to increase sales to existing customers, and we've spent a lot of time in past magazine issues going over this. I have a video back. I can't even remember to tell you when. I'm hoping you're a subscriber. If not, be a subscriber. Pick up our March issue. If you haven't gotten the back issues, we made our March issue free, and it's a best of, and it really has this video that I was talking about here. It has the systems one that I talked about earlier, and it has this one as far as increasing sales to existing customers, because I put on how a simple 10% increase in upsells, add-ons, cross-sells, new products, referrals, contacting past customers, if you could do a 10% increase in prospects and leads that become prospects, and a 10% increase in prospects that become customers, a 10% increase on add-ons, a 10% increase in referrals. I showed the math on how doing that ends up having a 48 to 60% increase in sales without spending a single dollar on new customers. But every business is focused on getting new customers. Why? Because new is cool. We all love new. Maybe we can start this customer off right. Look, people are people, and every one of us is different. We're all a pain in the butt sometimes. So, no, you might as well sell to your current customers, because you know what? You know them. You know better than them what they need. So help yourself, all right? Secret number 5, create a marketing system to get the big customers. We talked about this before. Step 1, choose your Dream 100. Chet Huntley puts a book together out there, The Perfect Sales System, I think it's called. I reviewed it in one of my magazines, and I think I did put that also in our March free issue. And he has a lot of this is stolen from him, but he's right. Think about your top 1 or 2 customers, and what would happen if you had 10 of those or 20 more of those. So why not put a campaign together to get them? So first of all, sit down and figure out who your Dream 100 is. Step 2, figure out what gifts you're going to put in there, because we're not talking about a bribe. We're talking about something that's kind of funny and gets their interest. Like if I'm trying to get them to use me to help them grow their business, I might put a little pen flashlight in there, one of those little flashlights that don't cost me a heck of a lot. I put it in the letter, and the letter says, "Let me help you search for those profits that have been ignoring you," or something like that. All right. So what I'm doing, first of all, it's a lumpy letter. People are going to open it to see what the heck's in it. They have my name on there, and I'm going to do this for a year. I'm not just going to do this for 1 month. I'm going to sit down and do this for 6 months to a year, where I'm going to sit down and have a different gift with a different letter every month, all right? Step 3, create your Dream 100 letters, and that's what we talked about. Get a letter that is only for them and why they need to work with you, and it's usually tied in some way with that gift that you put in there. And remember, part of it is to basically get their attention and have them open it. Everybody opens something lumpy. All right. Step 4, schedule your Dream 100 mailing. Step 5, follow up with all your Dream 100 with a phone call. The purpose of the phone call is to get a meeting, not to make a sale. You want them to meet you. All right. Then step 6 is to present your sales presentation. You want a wow me presentation. You better be able to answer the question, why me? Why they need to do business with you. Out of all the choices in the world that are out there, including not doing anything, why should I do business with you? Look, let's be honest about it. The easiest thing for the business owner or the consumer is to sit down and not do anything, to stay where they're at. A body at motion tends to stay in motion. A body at rest tends to stay at rest is not just a physics law. It's also a law of business sales. All right. Secret number 6, speed up and improve all areas of the business cycle transaction. Areas of the business transaction cycle. Let me grab a drink of water here. All right. All right. This is a complete cycle I'm talking about, from the placement of the order to the payment by the customer of the invoice. Speed the process up by improving efficiency. This allows you to take on more customers without hiring more staff. Remember, a customer places an order. Material or product is ordered. Your staff adds value. Product is delivered, an invoice is sent, invoice is collected, staff and vendors are paid, everybody's happy. The problem is it doesn't happen in this order. Customer places an order, you take your time delivering it, the product and material gets ordered, they expect to get paid in 30 days, 30, 45 days. If you take 60 days to deliver the product and then the customer takes another 30 days to get invoiced, and then you take another 30 days to collect, this is how you go broke. This is how a company basically can increase sales and go broke, because they have to pay their material and product, and to be honest, your staff expects to get paid. Try this one day. Tell your staff on payday that, hey, the customer didn't pay me, I'm sorry, I think payday is going to be delayed until I get paid. See how many people show up on Monday. All right? It just doesn't work. More importantly, there's things called overhead. Overhead this is bad joke time, you've been warned. Overhead is called overhead because it hangs over your head like an evil cloud, all right? Basically what we're talking about is rent, taxes, interest on your loans, all right? Utilities. These things got to be paid whether you have one customer or not. So what you want to do is you want to speed up every cycle here. Is there a way you can get the customer to place the order? In fact, is there a way to get paid when the customer places the order? Do you have an incentive to do that? When I work with customers who basically, clients who take 50% down on every order, they never have cash flow problems. Plus, if the customer doesn't pay them, at least they covered their cost. But be creative. CPAs get paid. I'm a CPA. We do a lot of tax work. We do a lot of business work. We've looked for ways to last year we implemented a program that allowed people to pay us in 12 installments in advance. Why would they do this? Well, I gave them a reason to. If they agreed to do that for 2 years, I basically gave them a 33% discount on the first year. Plus, a lot of them hate the idea of having to spend, business return and a financial statement and all the stuff that goes with it. It can easily be $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000, and they got to come up with it all at once. They'd rather pay me $100, $150, $200 a month. All right. Plus, we made it up. You think I would lose money, but not really, because we offered all of them an add-on product, which is how you do this. All right. The add-on product we did was an audit protection program where, they basically paid me, and they kind of put me on retainer in case they got an audit. That's the best way to describe that. Okay. Now, enough people took that add-on product that the discount I gave, I actually broke even in the first year. But think about this. In the second year, I didn't give them a discount for the second year, but they still paid me for the add-on product because that was the deal I gave them. So now they actually paid me 22% more. All right. So look for ways to get paid in advance for that when they place the order. Material or product is ordered. Make sure you're buying the material only when you need it. Just-in-time inventory came about because of this. Your staff adds value. Make sure they're adding value immediately. Make sure that your workflow is there. Make sure you don't have a bunch of work in process or undelivered orders. Because let's be frank about it, the longer it takes you to order to deliver an order, the more likely it is that order is going to be canceled or postponed. The product is delivered. Deliver it fast. Invoice is sent. How about sending the invoice here? Or how about doing progress billings? Bill them, write it into your thing that you're going to take some down, and you're going to take progress billings on large items. I don't do any work on a new customer without a down payment. I don't do any work on a large product without a down payment. All right? The invoice is sent, invoice is collected, make it easy to be paid. Now, one of the biggest changes that has happened out there is the ability to accept credit cards from your phone or your iPad. Imagine now here's my pool guy and my yard guys, because we talked about the number one thing you can't buy more of as a business owner is time. Well, I could no longer afford to keep my pool and my yard going because it made a hell of a lot more sense to pay somebody else that can do it a lot faster and has all the equipment and really doesn't mind doing it. I hate doing that stuff. I'd rather be helping people making more money. All right. So imagine them, what they used to do, and one of them still does, though I'm trying to change them, is they would basically bill me at the end of the month. And then I'd get around to paying it 45, 60 days later. One guy was pretty cool. He'd bring me the invoice as soon as he's done, and I paid him. But here's a better way. One guy I'm working with, we actually got him a credit card machine, one of those little square things that goes on the end of on his phone or his iPad, and he swipes the credit card when he does the work. I'm trying to talk him into actually getting it prepaid, where I guarantee you a spot because I'm very busy, and you get the spot if you pay me monthly in advance. Look for ways to get the invoice collected early. Look here, like I said, there's not much you can do here, but if you can, look, I'm not a fan of taking advantage of my vendors. Vendors can help you make a lot of money, but sometimes they can help you here too. Secret number 7. Understanding and utilizing the most important rule of business. We already talked about that, and that's the 80-20 rule. Look, 20% of your customers, this is a fact of life. 20% of your customers are going to account for 80% of your sales. Sometimes it's worse. I've been in places where 10% of the business's customers account for 90% of the sales. All right, but we tend to spend 80% of our time on the 80% of the customers that only bring in 20% of the profits. 20% of your products account for 80% of your sales or profits. 20% of your advertising is responsible for 80% of your sales. P.T. Barnum used to say only half of my advertising works. The problem is I don't know which half. There's no longer an excuse for that. I'm a strong believer in not doing any advertising I can't track the results of. And unfortunately, this is true too. 20% of your employees are doing 80% of the work. The problem is without a good accounting system and without good accounting records, you don't know which 20%. It's the old P.T. Barnum part. Okay, so you need to have good accounting records to be able to tell this, because you need to be spending. Imagine if you knew which customers were out there. I'm going to give you a story of what I did. I was dumb enough to run for the school board one time, and worse yet, I became president of the school board for 2 years. I was so darn busy, I just did not have time to do marketing, but I needed to pay the bills still. So I sat down and I identified my top 5 customers that paid me the most. They already liked me, knew me, and were willing to pay me money, obviously, because they were already my biggest customers. And I went to them and I upsold them services that they need, and I basically ignored everybody else. My sales increase that year was more than it was the year before when I was trying to get a bunch of customers and keep everybody happy. Don't be afraid to fire your bad customers. Secret number 8, use those 5 critical accounting numbers to increase profit, sales, and cash flow. Look, I call this the 5-minute books, the 15-minute books. I want some, I say 5 minutes because all business owners have ADD. If I say 5 minutes, they'll give me 5. I really want 30 minutes every week at least, all right? Because every business owner needs to know how much cash is in the bank, who owes them money, who they owe money, what's selling, what their sales are, and whether they're making a profit, all right? So never make sure that you get a report at least once a week, and your CPA should be able to help you design your quick report. When I was at Magnolia Coca-Cola, which was a Coca-Cola company, I designed a report that the owners got every morning. It was the morning report that told them how much cash was in the bank, what was the receivables total, what was due in the next week, what was their sales for yesterday, for this week, for this month to date, for this quarter to date, for this year to date. All right, and the P&L came out at the end of the year, but now with computers you can get that every day. All right. Another thing, remember, never totally trust your bookkeeper. Why do business owners trust their bookkeeper? Well, business owners simply don't. They're enjoying or good at what they do, but they just hate record keeping. So the standard thing is as soon as they can, they hire a bookkeeper and they never look at their books again. All right. Most business fraud is done by the bookkeeper because they have access to your checkbook, your debit cards, your credit cards, and your vendors. If you don't believe me, by the way, get on Google and just put in bookkeeper fraud. You will be scared. You will be amazed. You will never look at your bookkeeper the same way again. And we did Oh, wow. 40, 50 QuickBooks courses. We're turning those into a online QuickBooks course. Keep your eyes open for that. That's coming probably late October, early November. And we met with tons of business owners, and the horror stories we heard about being ripped off by bookkeepers would just amazingly, and a lot of them don't recover. I got a business I did recently where the bookkeeper basically cost him about $200,000 and put him out of business, and he had a $2 million business. He had to close it, reopen it, file bankruptcy, starting all over from scratch. Don't let yourself do that. Don't trust your bookkeeper. My advice: trust but verify. Okay, the owner should do some basic things. You need to sign every check, have all the bank and credit card statements sent to your home. You need to learn how to reconcile them every month, or if you don't do that, have someone other than the bookkeeper do them. All right. If it's a cash business, make sure you control the cash. Put in great cash controls. Secret number 9: close the 3 black holes in your sales system. Lost traffic or prospects. They come, they see, they left. All right. That's what I just wrote here. Flat out, you failed to catch their attention. So what are you doing? Make sure you didn't explain to them how you can help them. Let's go back to that. I don't want to go too far. You didn't explain why you. That's the number one question you need to make sure you can answer. If you didn't spend enough time on creating your USP or your unique selling position so that you can quickly, easily communicate to your prospect why you, from all the other choices in the universe, including doing nothing, should they do business with you. If you can't communicate them, then you didn't get their attention, which means they came, they looked, they left. All right? Lost leads. How many times did you present but failed to follow up on? Or worse yet, somebody gives you a phone call and you're too busy to even send them a proposal. All right? Don't do it. Don't know? You should. Why don't you know? All right. Fact: 81% of customers buy after 5 contacts, like I said earlier. Yet 90% of sellers give up in 4 or fewer tries. Not only are they missing 80% of sales, like I told you earlier, but they actually preparing the prospect to buy from their competitors. All right. So don't be this person. You should know how many times you present and how many prospects, because you're giving away lost leads, and those are money you're leaving on the table. Lost customers. Fact: 68% of people didn't leave because of anything other than they thought you didn't care about them. They just flat out indifference, okay? Track your customer losses. Don't concentrate on sales, getting new sales while you're losing customers out the back door. All right? These 3 black holes are typical of most business. How much more would you be making monthly if you could plug those black holes? All right. By the way, let's talk about on this one here. 68% left due because they felt like you didn't care. In our second issue, and again, you can get the March one, but this one I think I'd go back and get the September 2012. We had a very good interview with Jim Palmer, who's the newsletter guru, and why newsletters are just flat out the most important thing you can use. I've written about that, I think, last month. They all run together after a while. That's why you want to get them and go back and read them. This isn't a magazine you want to read once. This is one you need to go back and more than once and get, because the newsletter is a great way to send them and remind them of why they're doing business with you, and the value of doing business with you. When you're using stories, I'm not going to get off on a tangent here because I already have about 10 times. But, go back and watch that video. But it's important, get in the habit, if nothing else, if you don't want to use newsletters, get your sales report ranked. Remember, I talked about the 5 reports. Get your sales report ranked by your best customers. And your top 20% customers, call them. Make sure you're contacting them. Put together a schedule of contacts so that you're calling them you're sending them an email, you're contacting them through the mail, you're picking up the phone and you're calling them, you're sending them good information. I want you to try to there's 2 types of contacts with a customer. There's what's called deposits and what's called pitches. All right. A deposit is where I'm putting goodwill in, where I'm calling them and just asking them how they're doing. I'm not trying to sell them anything. Just, hey, how's business? Anything going on? Hey, I saw this great article you might be interested in. We send a ton of emails out and blog articles, and we probably do a 10 to 1. I mean, we need to do more pitches. Because a pitch is saying, hey, we got this new product and sell. We're going to be doing more of those because we haven't been doing enough. But at a bare minimum, I would like to do at least 1 to 1. I'd rather do 5 to 1 deposits of good. So I'm depositing into my goodwill account rather than pitches, because my competitors aren't doing it. They don't have a blog out there. They don't have an email. They're not sending this amount of free information that we're sending. Let's go back to secret number 10. Be a lifetime learner. Read at least 1 business book a month. Every one of our magazines, I do 1 or 2 business books that I recommend. You can't help but, if you read a business book a month, by the end of 2 years, you've read 24 business books. You're looking for new information, all right? Here's some I recommend. There it is, The Ultimate Sales Machine. I couldn't remember. But these are some of my favorite. Guerrilla Marketing. Amen. That's a classic. All of these are classics in my mind. Guerrilla Marketing talks about, you don't have the budget of, when I was at Magnolia Coca-Cola, this was a local bottling company, had a $3 million budget. We used the mud on the wall method. We just threw it up there and hoped something stuck. Man, I got out in the real world and I might have a $2,000 budget. So I have to be smart. I have to work. I got to be creative. Read Guerrilla Marketing, man. If you're in business, that's one you need to have. The Ultimate Sales Machine, just for that. Just if nothing else, just that one section on how to get the Dream 100 could transform your business. E-Myth Revisited, we talked about, very, very key. I joke that business owners are, most business owners are accidental managers. You didn't go into business to manage employees, but doggone, you are now. These last 2 talk about. The 1 Minute Manager is a great, small, simple book, kind of giving you an idea on how to manage employees so that you get maximum production from them without being an ogre. Strength Finders 2, great book. I kind of used this before I even saw it, but kind of an analogy I use is that when you're dealing with people, the strengths that they have, you want to put people in the right place so that they succeed. All right, it's much easier to take a good salesman and make him great than it is to make a mediocre salesman good. That great salesperson will outperform and outsell the good salesperson 5 to 1. Your superstars just outperform your average employees. Matter of fact, I say your average employees are the worst employees you can have. Strength Finders helps you find out what their strengths are, helps them discover their strengths so that you can accentuate the positive and mitigate the negative. But you're not going to, it's like I said, I can enter a mule in the Kentucky Derby. I ain't going to win. Of course I can put him there, but I'm never going to turn that mule into a quarter horse, all right? But if I'm going down the cliffs of the Grand Canyon, I sure as heck don't want to be riding that quarter horse because they're a little fidgety. The first time they hear something slap, all of a sudden I'm, 50 feet out of like a cartoon, 50 feet out away from ground and 2,000 feet up in the air. I want that mule that can just keep going and is steady. Every employee has a skill set. I don't want you to go around saying you're a mule and you're a thoroughbred. But frankly, even in the accounting section, I have employees that are very good at once they learn a skill, they will do it and they will do it accurately and on time. I have others that if I do that, their eyes are going to glaze over and they're going to commit suicide. But if I give them something new, man, they're going to take it and they're going to learn. The first person, anything new drives them crazy. So you put the right person in the right place based on what you need. Hey, you can start now and go to freeisbstrategies.com and watch one of our free webinars. Come back and check on that periodically because we're going to be adding more all the time. Whew, wow. I know that was a lot of information, but now it's up to you on putting this information to use. Hey, thank you for your time. Until next time, let's make this our most profitable year ever. Thank you very much.